Stick to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor blows the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity where they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steve Fun Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello and welcome to the Pun Show. Hope you had a good weekend. Don't have much as far as preamble goes this time. Just want to mention that I think it's silly if we do anything other than impeach Pam Bondi. I mean, Little Miss, no one is above the law, is apparently above the law. And what I think like missing about this whole thing, where they're like, oh, they didn't give us time or whatever and all that kind of nonsense. They had 30 days to get ready. And what I think is like, this is a law specifically set for this particular group of people. Like, they're the only ones that can follow this law. I can't follow that law. Like, that law does not apply to me because I can't release those files. Pam Bondi's like the only person in the world that can either follow or not follow that law, and it's not being followed. So she is definitely not above the law. This is not like some random technicality or something. This is like she is the only person alive who can make sure that law is followed, and she's not making sure it's followed. So Little Miss above the law thinks she's above the law. And when you're in charge of enforcing the law, and you keep screaming about how nobody's above the law, and then you try to suggest that you're above the law by not following the law, by not enforcing the law that was made for you to pass or to follow, then yeah, impeach. Anyway, it's time to like just get over this stuff. Impeach her. Release the Epstein files. That's it. I don't even understand why there's any controversy there. I mean, children were raped. And somebody did the raping. You can talk all you want about how there's no client list. Well, there's clients. List them. All right. So that said, I came across an article, actually a couple of different articles, talking about technology in China, and like, it just blew me away how far ahead they are of us in so many different ways. And it's not, I said something about, like, they're way ahead of us in this race, and somebody snarkily replied, we're not even in the race. And that's true, but that also is, we're so far behind in it, we're not even in it, I guess you could say. So I put together a couple of things. One is in a way, it's like to just go through and look at what China is doing that we are not. Really, it's amazing what kind of future we could be having. Like, if we just tried, we could have such an amazing future, such an amazing present even. Like what China is doing right now. And I'm not saying China's perfect. I'm not saying I'm cool with child labor or, authoritarianism or all of that kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean that they're not like lapping us on clean energy either. And everything doesn't have to be all good or all bad. So I want to look at what China is doing and how they're integrating clean energy with modern technology to have a better, more livable society, more convenient society. And I was thinking of this metaphor of like they are to it's like we're stuck in oil and they're in clean energy and technology, and it's like we're stuck in Betamax and they're streaming in 4K. You know, it's like the technology has moved on and we're just adamant about sticking to oil instead of clean energy and renewable energies. And like last year, China exported more dollars in clean energy technology than we did in oil. It's not just about whether or not you believe in climate change, which, by the way, is very real. It's about whether or not you believe in the almighty dollar. Like, do you believe in money? If you actually think that money is important, whatever your thoughts on climate change are irrelevant. There's money to be made there, and China is making it, and we are not. Like we are so far behind. But it's not just the money; it's also the electric vehicles, 5G, shipping technologies. So I'm going to go through some of these things and show just how far they are. I got an N and an I. I don't know what that means. All right. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you. Oh, I think. All right. So let's just talk about the gap first, the gap between where China is and where we are. China isn't racing against America. They're racing towards a better future. And I think that this is also true. Like we tend to think everything is about America, including China. China is not necessarily trying to compete with us. They're just trying to, you know, maximize what it can be. So we got a comment, EV is majorly unsustainable for the majority of people. We'll get to that in a minute. Got a whole bunch of stuff on this. And I would just say you're wrong, and I'll show you where you're wrong. And why. All right. So first, let's just talk about clean energy. I mean, there's things about it for our life, like cleaner air. Less pollution means fewer asthma attacks, respiratory issues, and premature deaths. You can actually breathe, you know. And yes, China's had its history with air pollution, but it's getting better because China is actually getting cleaner. It's not the same China, even from the Olympics a few years ago. It is getting better because it is channeling money into clean energy. You've got lower energy bills. Solar and wind are now cheaper than fossil fuels. Your electricity bill goes down, not up. Like everybody talking about their electricity bills going up. Well, we should be investing in clean energy. If we want our electricity to go down, then we should be investing into that. And this is not a red state versus blue state thing. Like Texas is one of the biggest states in terms of clean energy, which you may not know this. Texas is a big generator for both wind energy and sun and solar energy. The cleaner air will give us better health. And also, kind of important, climate stability. I, for one, am for the idea of an inhabitable planet in 50 years. Okay. So we're able to see our faults because we live while China is as a futuristic country because of the major metropolitan area. Nobody's talking about the steppe. Anyway, so you obviously are an open-minded person. Navy is okay. This one is. This guy always just jumps on and talks about poop. Anyway, so all right. where are we at with China? China has 2,073 terawatts of wind and solar. We have 756. So they already have almost 3 times as much as us, 2.7 times as much. But last year alone, like they're really pressing on the gas and we're pressing on the brakes. Last year alone, they developed more clean energy than we have ever developed altogether, total. Like they are really ramping things up. And people say, "Oh, they're developing coal too," but they're also developing the clean energy. Like they're getting ahead of us. And whatever else you want to say about it, they're doing more for clean energy than we are. And it's not that they're edging us out; they're blowing us out of the water. And we are like sitting there, we're buying up stock in Blockbuster while they're buying up stock in Netflix. It's about the future, not the past. And I don't know why we can't understand that. Clean energy is the future. Oil is the past. They're adding their solar at almost 6 times the rate we are. And they're manufacturing 80% of solar panels throughout the world. So this is what I mean. We're talking about like trade wars and all of that kind of stuff. Well, they're actually exporting things. They're actually exporting clean energy. 50% more money in clean energy than we have in oil energy. And so do you think that's going to get better or worse for us? Do you think that the rest of the world, forget about like just what the United States does. Do you think the rest of the world wants to go back to oil? Do you think that the future is in oil? It's not. The future is in clean energy. And we're either going to commit to that and make money off of it and capitalize it, or we're going to become a dinosaur and we're going to be the next oil. We are still living in the industrial age compared to China as far as clean energy. And Trump wants to take us back there even further. China does actually have hover cars. That's like, they literally have flying cars. Like that's, so I guess you know that, but like we are so far behind them. So far behind them. But even without getting into the flying cars, the EVs, where they are with EVs is just mind-blowing to me. China's renewable energy prevented 1.5 billion tons of CO2 emissions in 2024 alone. So some people are like, well, China's got coal still, and it's like they do, but that's more, they're producing coal now to offset when like there's not the conservatives will say, oh well, there's like surges and stuff like that. Well, they still have coal for that, but they're getting more and more to the point where they're able to more or less sustain on clean energy, and then when they need it, they go to coal. We go to coal and then we supplement it with clean energy, where we go use coal and fossil fuels and things like that, and then supplement it with clean energy. They're getting to where they're relying on clean energy and supplementing it with fossil fuels. Solar energy's costs dropped 89% globally from 2010 to 2024, largely due to China's manufacturing sale. That's it. Solar energy is getting cheaper. Like if you haven't even checked your house lately, and it's not just getting cheaper, it's also getting better. The efficiency of a solar panel is so much more than what it used to be. And so if you have your own house, like check into it. You can probably get I think the last I checked, it was like 5 or 6 years payoff. If you bought, and it's probably going to be even more as the solar drops more, and as the cost of solar drops more, and as the price of electricity goes up. You're probably like looking at 5 years now before the cost of buying solar power makes up for itself. And I mean, like if you own your home. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what you went like. What does UNC mean? People are always typing UNC, and I have no idea what that means. The EVS makes anything made by Tesla. They are like when I mean that's the next thing I'm gonna. They are just light years ahead of us on EVs. China built a bridge over a huge gorge that collapsed 2 months after opening. When China makes something, doesn't mean it's good. Okay. You said things. Okay. So they also made a wall that's, like 6,000 years old. All right. So China's grid can integrate renewables at scale. US grid still struggles with intermittency. That's true. Like they're actually better than us in spite of what the previous commenter has to say about it. The quality of their clean energy is actually better. And the thing is, we're actually the ones that invented solar energy, right? We're the ones that invented solar panels. But we decided to not pursue that because the oil industry decided that they didn't want competition. And so we've never invested in it the way China has. China has been able to pass us up on this because they've been trying to. In the last 10 years, they've just flown past us in terms of clean energy. Okay, I mean, yes, I am saying China has quality products. When it comes to clean energy, yes, I am saying China has quality products. When it comes to EVs, I am saying that China has quality products. So, I mean, I know that's probably not against your little worldview, and you have infinite knowledge of everything, and you're omniscient, and you know everything. But yeah, you're still wrong. So let's go. Let's talk about one of these things, which is apparently the thing everybody wants to know about. Wants to talk about electric cars. Where are they at? They have this. This is mind blowing to me. They've got these these cars now. It's a company called NIO, which is spelled NAIO or NIO. It's not like Neo or something like that, but pronounced like Neo, like the guy from Matrix. But they have a car company called NIO, and they have batteries that you can swap out. And you can either tap a button on the screen, or with the newest generation of these vehicles, you can even tell it that you need to fuel up, and it will guide you to the nearest station, and it will park in the place for you. And then in 2.5 minutes, it swaps out the battery, which is like the standard. It's the same battery. It gives you like a 200 to 300 mile driving range, depending on what kind of car you have. And then you can be on your merry way. It'll even drive you back into the highway and merge you onto the road. It is light years beyond anything we have. 2.5 minutes, full charge. You can't get that in a car, where you can just go and have your car fueled up in less than 5 minutes, and you don't have to get out of your car. And guess what it costs? About $15. It costs about $15 for this. And then what they do is they just have a huge supply of batteries, and then they'll run diagnostics on the battery and decide whether this should be rapidly charged or slow charged, and then they worry about the batteries. And you have they have two programs. You can either just buy the battery and it's like $10,000 when you buy the car, or else you can rent the battery and it's $80 a month. And you just then you don't have to worry about the battery runs out on your car and the car value goes down and all of that kind of stuff. None of that ever comes into play. Your car value does not diminish because the battery life has diminished. You don't have to worry about getting a new battery every 10 years. You can get a battery every 10 minutes if you want. And you don't have to worry about, driving across the country because they have these battery stations. They've already swapped out over 64 million batteries like this. And I mean, to me, this is pretty amazing technology. And it's not here because Elon Musk doesn't want it here because he doesn't want the competition with the Teslas. And so then you talk about the quality of the cars. These have a better range than Teslas do. The this like their standard car is like comparable to a Tesla Y. It's an SUV actually, and it has over a 300-mile driving range. They have 17.3-inch screens. They have ventilated seats, and they have rear entertainment and all the perks you'd want in a Tesla. But guess what? Depending on what kind of car you want, like their entry-level cars are $10,000. The different. This isn't NIO, but they have entry-level EVs there for $10,000. The ones I'm talking about are like $25,000. They're way ahead of us on EVs, way ahead of us, and they're way more affordable than ours. You can get an electric car that's better than the Tesla over there for less than $25,000. So Skippy is very upset that anybody would ever say anything good about any country other than America. Okay. The cap check is see, I must be paid by China because I don't hate them. Yeah, well, it parks among other things, yes. Like, yes, it also, if you can find a self-parking car that also fills itself up with fuel. Oh, and by the way, while it's changing out that batteries, it also does a free diagnostic. So yeah, it also does all that, Nathan. Do you have any other smart aleck things to say? He has never been to an auto show in China. Phenomenal vehicles. And it's like, yeah, there's lots of good things about lots of other countries other than the United States. Tell me you've never been out of your trailer park, Skippy, without telling me you've never been out of your trailer park. Sounds great for Americans. It would be great for Americans. I think I would love a car like that. I would love a $15,000 car that would cost me $15 to fill up in 2.5 minutes and didn't have to worry about a battery. I would love to have the convenience of that. Electric cars are trash, says the man that has no experience with electric cars. I have a Nissan Leaf, and it's actually, what's great when everybody's complaining about the price of gas going up? Having an electric car. But it's not just about the convenience of the cars for the average driver. It's also about the money in the cars. We talk about our auto industry all the time. Do you think that the future of the automobile industry is in gas-powered cars? Like, do you think that everybody's just going to keep, especially now that we're getting into this thing where there's real solutions? The biggest issue people had with electric cars is range. And having to worry about like having to charge your battery for an hour. Nobody wanted to do that. Battery swaps change all of that. Like you start getting into battery swaps, and that is a game changer because everybody knows, like, if you've driven an electric car, it's got like just the actual things that you want in a car. It's got better torque, it's got better pickup speed. I can get on the highway in my Leaf, which isn't even like a nice electric car. It's just a like it's a entry level electric car. I can get on the highway and I can be up to 55, 62 miles an hour in like a couple of in like 3 seconds or 4 seconds. I'm not quite sure, but it makes getting onto the highway and accelerating really fast easy. It's got all kinds of like little perks and things. Like it's got all the modern features that you get in the gas powered cars. I never have to take it for an oil change. I mean, like, the upkeep on it is cheaper. The cost of just, fuel is a fraction. And everything about having an electric car is better. Except for if you want to go on a cross country road trip. Then you might have to worry about waiting. So I've always felt that this is overrated because most of my driving is local. I've had to like add a charge for like 15 minutes a couple of times because I don't need to fill up my battery all the way. I just need to, I kind of add enough to get home a couple of times because I was out driving around all day. And I've got like a 210-mile radius or range. Okay. So, the NIO, the NIO's battery swap network, they've swapped 61.5 million battery swaps. And it takes about 2.5 minutes per swap. The BYO network, or BYD, that's the largest EV seller in China. They overtook Tesla as the world's largest EV maker. And China is dominating the global markets on this. They're exporting all over Europe, including Germany. They're exporting to 70 countries. So again, if we're talking about just, whether or not you personally like electrical vehicles or not, is sort of moot. There's money there. You're like sitting there arguing that Betamax is better than VHS tapes while everybody else in the world is streaming Netflix. Like, it's not just about what you think about EVs. It's people think enough about EVs to buy EVs. And if people are buying EVs and we are not selling EVs, we are losing the auto industry, which we used to dominate. Battery costs have dropped 97%, largely due to Chinese manufacturing scale. And Trump just approved tariffs on Chinese EVs and approved selling them advanced AI chips, which is to me an incoherent policy, and we'll get into that more later. But I think he put the tariffs on the Chinese EVs because he didn't want Elon Musk just doesn't want the competition. If you could buy a car that's better than a Tesla for half the cost of a Tesla, you would do it. If you could buy a car that's better than a Tesla for half for the going rate of a entry level gas car, you would do it. And you can get them for, like, again, they're selling these things, brand new electrical vehicles, for $8,000 to $12,000. That's the entry level EV in China. All right. So we got all kinds of comments here. See if okay. Okay. Electric cars are trash. Fat Americans. I've drove Teslas and Hyundai. I don't know what a Hyundai is. Is it anything like a Hyundai? Hyundai? Whatever. Is that spelled right? Maybe it is. But yeah. I thought it was Hyundai. But yeah. I've drove whatever you've driven. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change the fact that the car accelerates faster and performs better. I have an e-bike that goes over 40 miles per hour for over 60 miles. Range is no problem with the vehicles anymore. Yeah, for them, like, unless you're actually on a road trip, generally range doesn't even factor in. And even if you are on a road trip, which I haven't done, but if you were to, the charging is fast enough. Like for most of the cars nowadays, you can get around 250 on a range. And so and you're not going to go 4.5 hours without peeing anyway. And then the way that the charging works is that like 80% of the charging comes in the first 20 minutes. So if you were to just go to a typical charging station, I think the maybe the issues are more to do with finding the charging stations, having uniform charging stations, things like that are harder to manage in the US. But instead of trying to manage them, we're just ignoring them as a nation. When will you okay, none of this is like really true. And but I would just say, if you want to like get into where are you going to do this? How about asking those questions like genuinely? Like it's worth asking the questions maybe. But how about looking for them to find answers instead of looking for them to not find answers? What are you going to do when we run out of oil? What are we going to do when the planet becomes unlivable because we kept committing to it? You're looking at reasons to not do a thing that the rest of the world is doing instead of looking for a way to actually do them. I travel full time for work and sometimes will drive 1,000 miles in a day. So like, do you drive like 100 miles an hour? If you were to drive 100 miles an hour for 10 hours, that would be 1,000 miles. So I kind of get the feeling that you're not actually driving 1,000 miles in a day. I think you're lying. Okay. Learn how to fix. Okay, so you're just saying a lot of like I don't want to go into all your little naysaying stuff because it's being done. What you're saying can't be done is being done in a nation far bigger than China. Like they have more than 50% of their new vehicles sold last year were either EVs or hybrids. So you're acting like this thing that can't be done or this thing that is being done by a nation that has far more cars and far more people than we do can't be done. But the fact it's being done should just put all your little mamby-pamby nonsense to rest. If it's being done, it can be done. Okay, take an electric vehicle to a mountain climate and tell me how it affects the range. Do you not think they have mountains in China? Many large cities have downtown areas that have free charging station at certain times of day of the week. I'm sorry, I have to call BS on that 1,000 per day thing. You'd have to travel. Yeah, that's what I mean, that's pretty. I drive from southern Missouri to Washington State in 2 days. It's the 30-hour trip. So you're driving from okay. Okay. It's about 2,000 miles. So you'd have to average about 60. So that's not 1,000 miles a day, is it? You're driving 2,000 miles in 30 hours. Or, so that's averaging 67 miles an hour. Do you ever like stop and pee? Do you sleep? Like, anyway. Uh, and most people aren't traveling 2,000 miles or 1,000 miles a day anyway. So why are you such a China shill? 15 hours a day. So, okay. Most people aren't driving 15 hours a day, Nathan. And if you were driving 15 hours a day and you had battery swaps, then it wouldn't matter, would it? Like that would actually solve the problem. That's the whole point. You do not travel 1,000 miles in a day. You don't. Stop lying. You said you drive 2,000 miles in 2 days. I don't believe you. Not unless you do it without sleeping or eating or stopping or going to the bathroom. There is no way you're traveling 2,000 miles a day. You're a liar. All right. So that's enough with Nathan. And and it misses the point entirely anyway. So just away with you. Host running him through the CAPTCHA test. All right. So now where are we at? All right. What does it mean for you? The lower operating costs. EVs cost about 3 to 5 cents per mile versus about 12 to 15 cents per gas. So the cost of running of just electricity or oil or whatever is like 1/3 of what you're paying. You have quieter cities. Electric cars are really quiet. Like I'll have to, if I'm driving up and there's birds in the street, the car is so quiet I actually have to honk my horn to let the birds know to get out of the way. There's better cars. There's instant torque, smoother ride, lower center of gravity. EVs are just better to drive for you once you drive them. And I'm telling you, this is true. I've had nice cars. And the nicest car I've ever driven is my Leaf, which is like an entry-level EV. It's not even a fancy EV. China is selling about 7 times as many EVs as we are. And they're getting better and we're getting worse. And their cars are better. NIO's battery swap network. They're doing 61.5 million battery swaps already. Oh, wait, I already read through all that. So, okay, let's go to high-speed rail. And, like this guy, Nathan, is sitting there calling me a China shill. I'm not a China shill. I already said at the outset, I'm not saying everything about China is better. But that doesn't mean that you can't say that China's not doing anything better. Not everything has to be all or nothing. Like some things can just be partly one thing or another. All right. So I'm going to go into this next thing in a minute, but if hopefully I won't lose everybody. I have to take a quick break here. Got a bathroom emergency. I'll be right back. Sorry about this. Okay, if anybody's still here, I'm back. Sorry about that. I sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Yeah, sure, buddy. Stop making stuff up. So you're not driving 15 hours. If you are, you're breaking speed limits and you're breaking the law. And again, it's still kind of moot because most people aren't driving 1,000 miles a day, and the battery swap thing would still be that. So anyway, let's just stop with this silliness. All right, so we're going to move on to here. The next thing in the gap is China is so far ahead of us when it comes to rail travel, and I'm talking about both high-speed rail and like subways and metro travel. And this is a lot of it is just it's about convenience. So what does this mean for your life? All right. When I think of, like, before I started looking at this, and I would think of high-speed rail, and I would think of, like, how long would it take to get from New York to LA? And that's kind of the wrong way to look at it. It's more like, how long would it take you to get from New York to DC or New York to Philadelphia? It's these these stretches that take, you know, a while to drive and are inconvenient to drive, but but they're also like inconvenient to fly because you got to go through TSA, and you know, like the flight itself might not take that long, but then you've got all the time, like you got to get your baggage, I mean, and you got to get go through TSA and all that stuff. It's like you spend at least an hour and a half in the airport every time you fly. What if you could just go and get on a train and then get off the train and you spend like a total of 10 minutes in the train station versus an hour and a half in an airport, and you can still get there faster. Then it starts looking convenient, right? So they have these they have high-speed trails that are connecting the major cities. So like I live in Austin. So if I could take a high-speed rail to Dallas and get there in like an hour and a half versus a 4-hour drive or a 3-hour plane flight, when you can't count in me having to go to the airport and park and all of that, and then go through TSA and so on and so forth. So yeah, some of those China maglev rails go almost 400 miles per hour. Like they can really get you somewhere fast. The Beijing to Shanghai is an 800-mile trip, and it gets you there in 4.5 hours. No TSA, no airport delays, city center to city center. So like, think of it that way. Like all of these like puddle jumper flights being knocked down to like an hour trip. You can work while you travel, smooth ride, Wi-Fi, power outlets. You don't have to worry about, the check or the whether the passenger light is on or the seatbelt light is on, and like you need to pee, you can just go pee like I just had to do. All of that kind of stuff you don't have to worry about. And so China has nearly 50 cities now have subway systems. So it's, like that's with, like from city to city. Then within the city, they've got these kind of board diggers. Let's see if did I have that in here? They've got TBMs. They're called tunnel boring, and they're actually starting to export these to Europe. And what they do, they're like these things that they will dig a tunnel that is big enough for an entire subway. And then they have these prefabricated, like right here, prefabricated station construction. They'll go in with these boards, and they'll just carve out a whole subway station and the whole track to the next station and everything like that. And they'll come in with the station, and they'll fill it in, and they'll get entire subway systems set up in like 8 months to a year. Things that would take us years. And the entire subway network can be installed in less than a year. Entire subway stations are set up in less than a week. Like that's how far ahead of us they are. They're thinking of these things, and they're doing these things. We've been talking, like people have been talking about a subway in Austin for like since I've been here, 15 years now, and probably before that. Never got anything done on it. Like we're way behind China in so many ways. All right. So and then in terms of high-speed rails, we're the ones that invented the idea of high-speed rails. We still don't have any, really. We're still like on Amtrak going 83 miles an hour and thinking that's something special. China built over 48,000 kilometers of high-speed rails while we've been debating about whether to build them at all. We're just so far behind. Brett says it's like a giant snake. The head boards the next section, lays down cement, and there's tilling even. Wow. That's so amazing. That's like some of this stuff you start reading about it, and it's like sci-fi. Like this is the sort of thing that you would expect in a sci-fi movie. Of course, we're doing our own version of sci-fi, but we're talking about like Patriot Games type stuff instead of like good sci-fi where the technology is really something. And when we did, and again, it's like on the one hand, they're talking about they're like in some of these cities like Shanghai. We're not talking about small towns or something, but in Shanghai, they've done so much. They have a 3-minute average wait for a subway, and you just get on and you just get off. And when you do that, it also means that the traffic gets diminished, which means further reduction in carbon emissions. And it also means more convenience. Like, I think that maybe sometimes we just look at this in terms of whether or not we're saving energy, but we're saving time. It's like if you can make your commute so that you can get on a train, get to where you're going, and get home after work, and you can do it 20 minutes faster than if you're driving, you're going to take the train. You're not going to drive your car. We're talking about increase in convenience of life. Their life is getting more convenient. Ours is getting less convenient. Amtrak is trash, and it's really not that comfortable. Like if you've ever taken Amtrak, you have to buy a car, just like a sleeper car, just to like travel more than a few hours, because the seats aren't that comfortable. And anyway, it's just grossly it's not very nice way to travel. Their high-speed trains are like so much nicer and more convenient than ours are. They're more modern. We're like stuck in the 50s. We're stuck. Everything is stuck in the 50s. We're selling Betamax while they're selling streaming. That's the way I keep thinking of it. It's about the outdated technology that we are stuck in, and this is how empires fall: is that they refuse to move when the rest of the world moves. And we'll get into that later. But like, just think about this: they can go into a city, and while we're still debating about how to do it, they could just, in less than a year, they could have an entire subway system set up in Austin that would make life better for everybody in Austin. Well, we're too busy saying stupid things like I have to drive 1,000 miles a day, so we can't do anything. All right. So now let's talk about ports and logistics. And this one, I had no idea how far, like where we're at in terms of ports. You're not even thinking shipping ports. What does that have to do with anything? Well, among other things, if you care about the fentanyl overdoses, you should care about this. The drug interdiction reality. We've been blowing up boats and murdering people on the high seas because allegedly we're worried about fentanyl, right? Well, most of our fentanyl does not come in from boats from Argentina or wherever. Doesn't even come in on boats. Venezuela, that's what. Doesn't come in from boats on Venezuela. Comes in through shipping containers over the border through ports of entry. Right now, we're only inspecting about 3.7% of all the shipping containers that come over our border. That's why they're able to get them over. And the ones that do get inspected, 81.2% of fentanyl seized is smuggled by U.S. citizens through ports of entry, not migrants crossing illegally. But we're not inspecting those things because it's really just too time consuming and it costs too much. We also have like false flags all the time. Like there's I think 1 in 10 of the times we inspect, we actually find fentanyl. Like there's 10 times false flag ratio. What we could do with 5G plus, like automated shipping ports and things like that is have 100% every single shipping container gets inspected through like AI and 5G and automation, have every single thing detected. And you're starting to talk about, like here you talk about things like not just once the container gets here that we would look at it. There could be monitors on the shipping container throughout the entire trip from wherever it came from. So it gets inspected before it goes on. It gets inspected when it gets off. And then there'd be monitors, 5G monitors, the whole way over that would determine, did anybody open this container? Did the temperature change? Did the weight change? All of that kind of stuff could be regulated and flagged that, oh, well, this one right here, this temperature, this shipping container shifted weight, halfway through it went to this port and it wasn't offloaded, but all of a sudden it got a couple of tons heavier. Why is that? So then you can check it once it gets here. All of this kind of stuff that right now could be the ways that they're finding, or that they're smuggling it over. We could identify that and bust them before we unload those containers. Furthermore, we could learn from it. Like they could, when this happens, that means that fentanyl is getting added to it. So anyway, point being, we could do a lot more through modifying and updating our ports. And we're not doing it. China is doing it. What is China doing? First of all, they are so far ahead in this. TEU is, I think it's 20 equipment units, something like that. Basically, it's the number of containers, of shipping containers that get inspected. Equivalent. 20 equivalent units. That's it. And it's like 20 feet is the standard shipping container. So Shanghai has 140, just this one port does 141,000 per day. The entire United States does 152,000. So China in one port is doing more than almost 93% of what the entire United States does in a single day, or in the same day. At their peak month, they once did 161,290 per day, which is more than the entire U.S. The capacity for the nation is 301 million, which is almost 5.4 times what the U.S. is. And we're talking about, like, again, everybody, like Trump always wants to talk about imports and exports and trade wars and all that. Well, we can't export what China can because we don't have the things to export, but B, we wouldn't have the ability to export it if we could. Right now, we're like way backed up on in our port technology. They're in China, they're like getting with the same amount of manpower and the same amount of space, they're able to get a lot more out of it because they're using 5G and clean energy and all of this kind of stuff to work faster and smarter. They're just much more efficient. So both for profit reasons and for safety reasons, like with fentanyl and smuggling and whatnot, we should be investing in these, like new, more modern port technology. They have, okay, yeah, so this was the one. They're 213% more productive of traditional ports with 70% workforce reduction. So they're able to do 213% more with 70% of the less of a workforce. China's top 5 ports alone handle 3.3 times more than the United States. And by the way, the United States, our busiest port, isn't even one of the top 10 in the world. China has 5 of the top 10. And then that's not even getting into the ships themselves. That's just the ports. Shipbuilding capacity, China has 232 times the U.S. capacity. We can't even build ships to use our ports. So even if we had more ports, we don't have enough ships. And so we're using other ships. And then on top of all of that, I guess maybe that's why we need to steal them from Venezuela. But on top of all that, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway. We invented container shipping. Malcolm McLean in 1956. They build the ships and automated ports now. Like they're just better than us in this. So this right here, this is the fentanyl stuff I was already covering. So both for safety reasons and for profit. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. In addition to all of this stuff, because we don't have anything to put on ships when they come back over, we have to actually pay for those empty ships to go back. So it actually costs us money to not have anything to put on the ships. We are so just backed up, and we're not being logical about how we approach the future. It's just like, oh, China's bad, we're good. China's bad, we're good. Like some of the people that were commenting. Looks like they probably left because they got feelings boo-boos. But then the other thing I want to talk about is 5G, because this is another area where they're way ahead of us. And I think when we think of 5G, I know too many people, it seems like you talk about 5G, and the first thing they talk about is cell phone speed. Like we only associate 5G with phones, and it's not about phone speeds. It's not just about can you watch Netflix on your phone. Or what kind of games can you play on your phones? And I don't even know if a lot of people understand what 5G means. 5G it uses 3 different modes of frequency, but it's more about how many devices you can use that can be connected together than it is about speed. It's about the time lapse. It's not like about download speed or upload speed. It's about the instantaneous way in which you can be connected to something across the country. So it may be, like if you were a stock trader and you wanted to get instantly, that would be one way that it would be a convenience to you, is you could be instead of a second behind, you'd be like 1/millionth of a second behind. And in that second, you might be able to save yourself thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. But more importantly, There's things like where they do remote surgery in China. And surgeons from across the country can operate on you remotely with 1 millisecond latency. 4Gs have a 4G has a 50 millisecond delay, but that's not good enough. Like you need that like just almost instant ability. And so they're like you can be in Shanghai and operate on somebody in I don't know, Beijing or something. Like, are those different cities? Anyway, my brain is not what it used to be. So, like you get comments like this, not with those tofu buildings and contractors who never finish the job, leaving people homeless and broke. I don't know what that means. That just seems like yelling emptiness into a void. Like, you actually don't think that they have buildings that are finished in China? Do you think they're actually making buildings out of tofu? Like, this is just silliness. This is just xenophobic nonsense. Yes, China does some things better than us. And they are doing things better than us. And one of those things is technology. They are doing technology better than us. You're sitting there worried about 5G in your phone while they're using 5G to perform life-saving surgeries on people across the country. Like, imagine that. Like, you have somebody that only one surgeon, there's only a few surgeons in the world that can do better, that can perform this certain surgery, and you can just get them on, you don't have to worry about bringing them there. So Skippy's just going full on racist now, so I'm not going to read his or display his comments. I'll just acknowledge that, yes, I see your racist comments, Skippy. I don't understand why people have to be so hateful. So, like, another thing they can do, and this is I think a great way to think of what 5G can be. So you have something, I think do I have it listed here? What is it called? I don't have it here. But it's like they have communication systems with the cars where there's like communication between the cars and communications with the traffic lights and kind of combined. And so then the traffic lights can adjust for the traffic. So it's not like timed lights. It's actually like the lights are live and connected to what is actually happening with the traffic flow. And by integrating all of this and by having all of this kind of communication between the cars and the traffic lights, they're actually able to reduce congestion by 20%. So do you like the idea of having less traffic during rush hour? Like, this is not a thing I think most people would be controversial about. Like, I think most people would say, yes, I prefer not being stuck in traffic to being stuck in traffic. So these are the kinds of things 5G can do, from saving your life or just saving you time. And a whole lot of other things in between. They can do things like save you electricity, for instance, by monitoring where you're at in your house or where people are at in a building. They can moderate temperature control. So nobody's in this particular floor right now, so we're gonna just automatic, and we can sense this by the 5G. and phones walking around and stuff, we know that right now there's nobody on this entire floor. So let's cut off the AC, or turn up the AC on this, turn up the temperature or down the temperature, whatever, depending on whether it's winter or summer. But you can moderate temperature and save energy that way. So do you think that people just like making it up, dude? This is just denialism. Just no, no, no. Oh, so I don't believe it, so it can't be true. What kind of nonsense is that? Do you think that people don't like, nobody has ever been to China to like see these things? What got me interested in this was a reporter that went there just to experience all this stuff. And they have stuff that I haven't talked about. Like Brett was talking about earlier. They have literal flying cars now. Like they have drones that are dedicated to food delivery. And they tried an experiment where somebody went to get the food and drive to get the food and pick it up versus having it delivered to them. And they even had it delivered to like a weird spot, like in the middle of a park. And it just brought the food and it was hot. I think the flying cars, there's like a weight limit. So I don't know if like Donald Trump could fly on it, but they like have flying cars, and well, they're flying taxis actually. Like you can take a taxi by air somewhere. Yeah, and you know what? If they're spending money on things that are actually generating money and making life better for people, I'm all fine with that. Like, I don't see why that's an issue. I don't know what UMS means, but like, I'm all for spending money on social programs. I'd much rather have my tax money going to make my life better, make my life more convenient, save me time and traffic than like blowing up a fishing boat. We are more socialist than capitalist. I don't know. Is this loser glazing China now? Holy crap, Democrats really do love slave labor. No, I actually said specifically there are problems with China. But that does not mean that China is doing everything wrong. I'm sorry that I do not accept your binary way of thinking where everything must be either America or bad. I don't know that our economy, I think that that's a pretty lazy interpretation of what's happening to our economy, and probably one that's not very well informed, which is also why I say it's lazy, because I think that there's information out there if you want it. Okay, so because of their 5G and AI integration, which I might do a whole other show on AI, because I think AI is something that is really interesting and complicated, and in some ways it's good and in some ways it's bad, and I think it's mostly just misunderstood in multiple ways. But anyway, China, while we invented 5K, China deployed 600,000 stations in 3 months versus the US, who's done it 100,000 in 2 years. Their AI traffic optimization, which is just really something. They've saved 31.7 million tons in CO2, which is like one of those ways where I think that people have to understand that when you're talking about AI is using all of this energy and that's bad for global warming, but what if that energy AI is using is clean energy and it's using it to save or through AI traffic optimization, it's saving millions of tons of carbon. So then is it good or is it bad? So I think a lot of it is how you use it and what exactly you're doing with it. Um, I did not realize this, and so once I did, I'm like I'm not going to use AIs for generating like cartoon videos or anything anymore. But like for a 5-second video, AI uses about as much electricity as an hour in the microwave. So that's pretty heavy duty. Like, so I'm not going to be doing any more videos from AI. But other AI usage, like for instance, making this little graphic is like the equivalent of a few seconds in the microwave. So some AI usage is ridiculous, and then others is not so ridiculous. And some of it can even actually save emissions. Grid capacity unlocked from existing lines via AI optimization. So that's the other thing is AI by like looking at our, through 5G and AI, it can evaluate entire electrical systems and actually allow more electricity from within the same system. So as like the way I was thinking of it is you're getting more orange or more juice out of the same orange. It's just it's better squeeze technology. And so if you're using AI to get more electricity than the AI is using, it's a net positive. So some things AI is more, especially when you start using it in conjunction with 5G, where you have all these communication devices, and it becomes much more knowledgeable and can measure things and evaluate things quicker than any human could ever do. It just is not as simple as some people would make it out to be. And even with the jobs and everything like that, so it's like the AI becomes a something so big it's hard to like make it a subtopic on one show. So I think I'm just going to do it as its own show. But AI saves 18 times more energy than it uses, overall. So, but some AI is better than other AI. 5G enables everything from autonomous vehicles to smart factories to remote surgery. AI traffic optimization, we already covered that. 31.82 billion in benefits for 1.48 billion in costs, equivalent to removing 30 to 40 million cars. So again, just like with traffic optimization and stuff like that, these are the things where I'm talking about. It makes life better, and it also has the environmental benefits. So I think sometimes we look at, okay, we need to, we look at, well, if we do all this stuff for the environment, then we're gonna lose all these conveniences of modern life. But what if you could make your life better with some of these innovations? And so it's like we need to stop looking at it as it's either optimization or convenience. What if we could have optimization is convenience? Building optimization via AI is 30 to 40% energy savings possible. Could save 12% of total US electricity. And anyway, I don't need to beat that anymore. Industrial AI, 8% energy savings in manufacturing. Tesla, LG, Hyundai eliminated. Oh, there we go. Hyundai. That's how you spell it, dude, if you're still here. LG, Hyundai eliminated connection stoppages with 5G. I don't know what Trump is doing with selling this AI chip technology. I've come to think that when it comes to everything in his second term, it's just everything comes down to somehow Trump is making money off of everything he does. He does not care at all about the country. He does not care at all about you. If you do not realize that yet, then you're a fool. He is just there for Trump. Like, he's made billions of dollars. He's out there selling pardons to drug lords, and you think that he's trying to keep drugs from coming in. You think that he's there trying to stand up in the war for China, and you're calling me a shill. He's the one selling the chips for 25% revenue. Well, it's just going to put us further behind in the AI race. And it's a matter of national security, by the way. We developed core 5G technologies. China deployed at 600,000 stations in 3 months, while we argued if 5G causes COVID. Yeah, some of the stupid things that people say about 5G. Okay. Yes, I don't know what this bug person thing means, but I know it sounds ugly. And yes, we invented it, but we didn't do anything with it. We didn't invent the wheel either, but we invented the car. Like, what good does it do to invent stuff and then not use it? That's the whole point, dude. That's the whole point. Which is actually what I want to get to on the next dashboard. So I'll just go to that right now. What lessons can we learn, and what lessons have we learned? Okay. So the real fool is the one sucking. Yeah, I don't know why you have to be crude. No, I'm not the fool. I'm not foolish to acknowledge reality. China is doing some things better than us. That should not be that hard of a concept for you to understand. And just knee-jerk hostility doesn't really count as a rebuttal. It just anger for anger's sake accomplishes nothing. Okay, so the country that fakes every day to the point of buildings. I don't know what that even means. I don't know what they're faking every day. What are they faking? What buildings are falling apart? I don't know. It's just stuff that doesn't even mean anything. All right, so let's go to the lessons. What can we learn from history, ourselves, and China? What can we learn from history? This is what I've been thinking about. We're stuck in the past because there's no denying America since World War II has been the world leader in a lot of things. And we have become the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, depending on how you measure it. I mean, there's some people that could say, based on certain factors that other countries, like was the Roman Empire really less wealthy, or whatever. But, right now we have the highest GDP in the world. And we don't have the same population. So, I mean, we're in the conversation, no matter what you say. But every great empire has failed at some point, right? Like, if we are currently the greatest empire, that would mean every empire that has gone before us has stopped being the greatest empire, right? Something happened to someone along the line that they became less. So you think about the Spanish Empire from the 16th and 17th century. They got stuck on gold and silver from colonies. Like they were going to, South America or whatever, and they were just stealing the gold and the silver, and they were just, that money was the basis for the Spanish Armada, is how they kept everything going. But eventually, they missed banking. And so Britain overtook them by investing in industrial capacity. Like they got into the Industrial Revolution and modern banking. And so then Britain became the world power, right? Spain didn't move. Spain didn't grow. So Spain stopped being the superpower. So then Britain came along. And for the first part of the 20th century and the 19th century, they used coal, they used steam power, they used the colonial system to like build up and become their own superpower. For a while there, the sun never set on the British Empire, right? Like that was the thing. And they used what was then modern technology to become the superpower. But then along came oil, automobiles, modern manufacturing at scale. The Industrial Revolution took another step, and Britain didn't stay with it because it was still stuck in the 19th century, while the world was moving on to the 20th century, especially the United States, right? But now we use things like oil, cars, our highway system, financialization, all of that kind of stuff. We use that to build our empire. That's how we became the biggest power in the world. And so now the rest of the world is looking at let's go into renewable energies, not just for climate change, but for profit's sake, for money's sake. China is investing in this and they're making money on it. Again, I don't care what you think about China. I don't care what you think about climate change and whether global warming is real. But what I do know is that China exported 50% more in energy than we did, including all our oil. They're making money that we used to be making. And it's not going to get better over time for us. It's going to get better for them over time. If we are stuck in the past, we are doomed to repeat the past. So let's compare this to what happened with the space race. What can we learn from our own history? We were like wanting to be out in front in the space race, right? And so what happened? We lost it. Sputnik was the first into space. Russia beat us into space. So then what happened? John F. Kennedy said, we're going to be the first ones to get to the moon. We didn't say, the Russians are commies, and they're in space, and so this whole thing is stupid. It's all a hoax. We didn't just run from it. We didn't ignore their achievement because we disagreed with their political system, like some people on this feed want to do with China. You don't have to be pro CCCP to understand that they have better electric vehicles than we do, or to understand that their technology is better than ours, or to understand that they're making more money selling clean energy than we are selling fossil fuels. They didn't claim investing in space was authoritarian. They didn't just try to hit Russia with tariffs as though that was going to solve something. No, John F. Kennedy said, we're going to be the first ones to get to the moon. And you know what happened? We were the first ones to get to the moon. We resolved to do a thing and we did it as a nation. We didn't resolve to stay in the past. We didn't resolve to not achieve something. We resolved to achieve something. And because we resolved to achieve something, we achieved it as a nation. Rather than sit there and, like just belly itch about things like Matthew here does, we should be resolving we like to close this gap, to become the nation that stays on the forefront, to become the nation that leads in clean energy, instead of just saying, well, where are they going to get all the minerals? Find a way. We need to stop being limited by our excuses and become unlimited by our imaginations. We didn't get to where we were flying because the Wright brothers only flew a few feet. We did it a little bit at a time. We didn't say, oh, well, who wants to fly 20 feet? We said, wow, we can fly. And we flew 20 feet, and then we flew 50 feet, and then we flew 1,000 feet, and then we flew 1,000 miles, and then we flew across an ocean. Then we flew to the moon. We achieve by thinking of what we can do. We do not achieve by thinking of what we currently can't do. Our imagination needs to be greater than our limitation by excuse. That's how we became America. We did not become America by being a bunch of mealy-mouthed little whinies. What did we do in the past? We built a $4 trillion highway infrastructure. Think about how that is. The guy that says he drives 1,000 miles a day, which, of course he doesn't. But the guy that drives, that trucker, do you think that their job is made easier by an intersection? Do you think that America became better because of the highway system? Yes. Do you think it was free? No. But now we can't even think about high-speed rail because it's going to be too expensive. We spent trillions on gas and oil infrastructure. Why can't we spend money on clean energy? Why is it that we have to be so entrenched and just captured by the lack of imagination that we can't seem to get out of 1950? It's not 1950. I watched this show, Landman or whatever, and he's sitting there denigrating wind energy by saying, oh yeah, this is the only way we can get oil is to have power out here. That's the only reason we even have these. And it's like, he goes on this big long diatribe about how it takes more energy to produce the windmill than it does to run the windmill, which is just totally not true. That's a right-wing debunked talking point. Most windmills use more energy or produce more energy within their first 2 years than it took to get them, including all the little mining stuff. But they don't include all of that other stuff when they're talking about getting the oil out of the ground either. So it's all just it's dishonest talking points to defraud people into thinking that clean energy is bad. Why? Because the oil industry wants you to believe it's good. Why? Because the oil industry is getting trillions of dollars. Stop being stupid and think with your brain. Clean energy is the future. Clean energy is not just the future because of climate change. Clean energy is the future because of money. You want to think about green energy? Think about the green. Like it's actual money. They're making 50%. They exported 50% more energy than we did. And you're all proud that we're spending We're the world leaders in exporting gas. Well, guess what? That's becoming worth less and less. We have a housing shortage. Why can't we imagine how we can do more to build houses instead of just whatever, you know? Why do we have to be limited by our imaginations? Or why do we have to be limited by our lack of imagination when we can be unlimited by our imagination? Like seriously. So let's so I think okay, it looks like looks like all the haters left. All the angry people. But I just found this interesting. I found the whole thing fascinating. From the battery swaps, like especially I why aren't we doing that? You know what I'm saying? Why aren't we doing the battery swaps? Why are we so resolute in not looking at what we can do better? Anyway, I think that exhausts, unless I have more comments, but looks like Brett left and all the haters left. So anyway, if Brett, if you're still here, thanks for chiming in. It's good to have an ally out there. But I don't know where Skippy is. Skippy probably got mad because I called him a racist just because he said racist things about Chinese people. All right. So I don't know what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but I'll figure it out tonight. And I just want to thank you if you're still watching for watching, and I will talk to you tomorrow.